What is up, guys? If you guys are clicking on this video, you're wanting to learn how to play Octavia, whether that's wanting some loadout cards and some loadout full builds, wanting some tips, wanting some tricks, or if you're new to the game, or if you're just wanting to buy Octavia from the champion store in the game for Paladins with some gold and looking for a new champion to play and you're wondering if you should start playing Octavia, this would be a great video for you. So if you're wondering about anything of the above, then feel free to watch the rest of the video because I'll be talking about everything. Going to be going in depth. This is pretty much a guide for Octavia, tips, tricks, going over a complete kit, some other stuff like that. So a lot of info in this video. Hopefully you guys do use the info. There's probably, even for people that have already played the game and actually play Octavia in depth, there'll still probably be something in this video that you do not know or you did not realize. So something for everybody. If you guys want me to continue doing these types of videos, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel if you are new, and sharing the video really helps me out. We're on our way to 500 subscribers, believe it or not. Really insane. Thank you guys so much. Octavia, at least when I'm going to be recording this and we're going to be uploading this, the newest champion to the game. Depending on when you guys are seeing this, she may be older now or whatever. But at least when I'm uploading this, current patch is Indomitable. The patch where Octavia actually got released into the game. Newest champion, the only champion in the game that actually has a passive, which is an entirely new concept and something they're actually trying. I think that's probably going to be the only thing they actually do try it on. But pretty much what this is pretty much a passive. You still get to pick a talent and a passive, so it's pretty much two talents into one. It's what it kind of is. I'll briefly explain these. Probably the best one you're going to be wanting to go for. The main game mode in the game of Paladins is Siege, and that's what you're going to be playing as ranked, and your casual game is majority. Apart from that, it's Onslaught, King of the Hill, and TDM. If you're playing Onslaught, King of the Hill, or TDM, then Commander's Shield is probably one of the better better passives for that. As are the other ones as well, but at least for those modes, I'd probably say the best one is probably Commander's Shield, giving you a 575 health shield upon respawning that has no time limit and it does not go away until you get hit by a damage or fall off the map or get killed. So, apart from that, the other passives, Commander's Credit, probably the most valuable and the most game-breaking one. For every 6 champions eliminated by your team, you each gain 100 credits. Really cool, especially if you can steamroll as a team early game. Being able to get cauterized before your opponents, being able to get like extra items and get a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 of an item over your opponent's team, especially in like a ranked game or a game that's really competitive, getting those extra credits. Huge game breaking, just way to steamroll a game, and it's really important. Probably one of our better passives you're going to be seeing in the majority of your games. Commander's cooldown. Decrease ability cooldowns by 10% for your team for the entire match. Just keep in mind that is for your team, not for you. So if you want your entire team, so you have some really cooldown oriented like champions, Atlas, Maeve, whatever. Just example of 2 random ones, but there's plenty of other examples. Healers, Corvus, whatever, that have pretty long cooldowns on their heals. Getting that 10% CDR out of spawn is pretty much a Chronos 1 for them, and that is huge out of spawn. Granted, it does not work for you, but giving your team that 10% CDR out of spawn round 1 is really huge. And then the last one, Commander's Ultimate, probably her second or third. I don't know. I'd say probably her best passive is Commander's Credit, and after that's kind of tied between CDR and the Ultimate Charge, is what you're probably going to be seeing. Your team gains a 15% increased ultimate rate charge for the entire match, which is pretty much a morale boost 1.5 out of spawn. It does not count for you. Keep that in mind. You do not get any benefit from it. It only counts for your team. So your team gets 15% increased ult charge out of spawn on the first round. So that first round for the entirety of the game, which is pretty much a morale boost 1.5. So that's insane. So just keep that in mind. Really cool passives. Now we're going to get onto our talents. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I think her talents are kind of lackluster. At least for a damage champion, they really don't do much. You can kind of get away with just running any talent you really want, and you can still do really well. I'd say if I had to pick one, I think Display of Force is probably her best talent. Just because being able to do 450 damage to pretty much any squishy into the game, and rooting them in place pretty much guarantees a kill most of the time. So if I had to pick one talent, it would be a Display of Force. Enemies are rooted in place when they are hit by the pre-fire beam of Creeping Barrage, and it deals 450 damage, which normally it only deals 800. So really cool, probably her best talent. I would 100% in the majority of my games pick Display of Force. Her other two, Hell or High Water. Upon landing with the Commander's Leap ability, create a small pool underneath you that heals you both and allies for 600 health over 1.5 seconds. Octavia's ammo is not consumed while standing inside of this field, so you pretty much got unlimited ammo for 1.5 seconds, and you got a 600 health heal, which equates to about, I don't know, 1200 something health without Cauterize. Kind of a useless talent because everybody's going to be picking Cauterize, and it's kind of worthless. Would not pick it. It's good early game, but apart from that, you're just not going to be really taking advantage of it very much, at least from what I've played. And her last talent, Asymmetric Warfare. Distortion Field now damages enemies for 125 every 0.5 seconds. And for the duration of the Distortion Field, heals allies for 75 every 0.5 seconds while inside of the field. Just kind of your meh talent. You're never really going to be using this. Like, there's no reason to really even have this. Like, it really doesn't do much. I'd say if you want to pick talents, you pick Display of Force or Hell of High Water. Her worst talent's probably Asymmetric Warfare. Like, if anything, you're going to be using the Distortion Field. It's on such a high cooldown to the point where you just don't really get that much value out of it most of the time, especially if you're wasting a talent slot on it. Yeah, I just don't see really the point over her other two talents. Probably her worst talent, if I'm being completely honest. But, we're going to look in game. I didn't want to use that loadout. I just wanted to use a random loadout, whatever. So in game, she has pretty much it's a marksman's rifle, deals 500 damage up to medium range. Got scope, shoot down scope, kind of inaccurate. Does have a really weird type of recoil that you will try to have to get used to. Apart from that, Distortion Field. Throw out a huge dome on the ground. Your opponents cannot see out or into it from a distance. So if you're standing out here, you can't see into it, and if you're inside, you can't see out of it. You can only see inside of it. The only one that can is Octavia, and any other rival Octavias that may be in your game. And then we have the Commanding Leap, which is your movement ability. It kind of sucks at base. Like, this is about the highest you're getting, and that's not with any loadout cards. It kind of sucks. And it's on such a high cooldown, which I think they need to buff. Like, her movement ability is on such a high cooldown, it really doesn't take that much for you. It doesn't really do that much. And when you're actually using movement ability and you're in the air, hold your scope button, and you'll actually be able to levitate in air for 2.5 seconds and be able to shoot down your scope while you're levitating in air, which is a cool kind of feature they added to her, which I think is really cool. Apart from that, you're getting fall off around this range, so what is that? 250, around 150 away. Like, you're getting some fall off right here, so you're doing about 300 damage. Right here. Like, really long range, you're doing about 240. She's not really long range. Like, if anything, she's a extremely, like, medium range character, DPS character. That's what you're going to be using it for. 750 headshots, close range. Medium range, still 750. 500, about medium range. Normally it's around about 300, 200 damage, so. Got her ult. Kind of just pointed out, and it goes in the line at about 100% across the map. It does 1450 because I'm using the talent that makes its damage buff, but normally I think it's 850, and it does not root your opponent. But with the talent, it will actually root your opponent, so. Overall, really cool. I think the one thing you have to keep in mind is your leap is on a really long cooldown. Even in air without loadout cards, you still have a lot of recoil, and you're really vulnerable in air, so you need to keep an eye on where your opponents are, otherwise you just get shot down in air. You're a huge target if you just keep leaping into the air and everybody can just see you and shoot at you because you're a stationary target. Even if you run DR, which is one of her loadout cards, she has 25% DR, you still get pretty much deleted because you're a stationary target and everybody can still hit you. So even with her leap, you got to be really careful if you're in air and shooting at people. So her dome on a huge cooldown, mainly going to be using it either defensively or throwing onto a point where like a group of people are. Mainly that's what you're going to be using it for. Apart from that, it's on such a high cooldown that the point where you're not really going to be using it that much. It's mainly as either a defense or like an offensive type thing, so you can get free shots onto somebody. Apart from that, that's pretty much Octavia, guys. The one other thing you kind of got to be careful of, you could do dove extremely easy. This is your spread. Like your spread is, you have to be right up in somebody's face. You have to be like this close to somebody, and that's with them not moving. If they're moving and you're getting dove, it's extremely hard to land damage. So if somebody dives you, you're usually dead most of the time anyways. Especially if they're moving. Like you can get this close, and if they're stationary, then you can do damage. But you just don't do enough damage, and your spread is so much, it's not accurate at all. So just try not to get dove. Don't play too risky. Just play her as your typical mid-range damage champion, and you should be all set to go. Let's get into the loadouts so you can guys have some really good loadouts to use her when she gets dropped into ranked, or when you're just playing casuals and you want to win some really easy games. Alright, as for loadouts, guys, I would not use any of the other default loadouts. If you're going to be using loadouts, you need to be using the custom loadouts. Like the default loadouts are garbage. This here is the first loadout that I do got. This is mainly for your kind of like a jump type loadout and just overall just kind of making her feel a little bit better, at least playability wise and a little bit quality of life wise. If you want to jump a lot, 25% DR while you're in the air. These two cards just make her feel a lot better to play. Reduce the time it takes to bring up designated sites by 30%, and reduce the movement speed penalty by 40% when you're in designated sites. So you're able to move a little bit faster and you get a little bit faster ability to shoot. So these last two cards are kind of filler cards. Increase your movement speed by 18% with the 3 in this card for 2.5 seconds after getting a killing blow or an elim. I don't think the card's really that good because it's only for 2.5 seconds and you're not really going to be doing too much in 2.5 seconds, so I don't think the card's that good. But it's a really good filler card. And then Overwhelming Force, generate 4% ult charge after getting a kill or an elim with designated sites being active. So if you're aiming down your sights and you get a kill or an elim, you're gonna get 4% ult charge depending on what you did. So here's the first loadout, kind of just your generic loadout. I say my other two loadouts are better. Now you can use pretty much any, like almost any talent that you want for these loadouts, apart from the last one, which I kind of built around her dome type talent. Like these other two, this one and the first loadout, you can kind of just use whatever and just use that loadout anyways with pretty much any talent. This here is the loadout that I've been having the most success with. I think it's probably her best loadout and the best loadout I have found with her. Increase the jump strength of Octavia's commanding leap by 25%. This is probably a card that you're going to have on a 5. It makes her movement ability so much better. You're able to get to high ground. You're able to jump almost all the way half across the map. You get a lot more mobility. It makes her movement a lot more worth, and it makes her feel a lot better. Especially when you can get way higher into the air, you can get onto high ground. It's good on way more maps than having just base jump height. Really solid card for this loadout. Filler, just increase your ammo by 2. Another 5 clean shots, reduce your weapon recoil by 100% while using commanding leap. So if you're in the air and you're just floating in the air for that 2.5 seconds after activating your leap, and you're in the air, you're going to have 100% accuracy for those 2.5 seconds while you're in the air with this loadout card. Meaning if you can aim when you're in the air, you're going to be guaranteeing yourself some kills. Whether that's with headshots or just killing low to health targets, you don't have to worry about any recoil while you're standing in the air. Filler, 15% DR while in the air, and then just another filler card towards the end. I did try changing these around, but I do 100% like the 100% accuracy while you're in the air over the DR. I think even with the DR, you're such a vulnerable target that somebody does see you, even with 25% DR or even more. Or with the the card at a 4 or 5. It's not worth running more than a 3 in this loadout. But if you really want a really solid loadout, I think this is probably the best loadout that at least I've personally tried and had success with. This last one's going to be with her dome type talent. It's going to be focused around your dome, playing with your dome, and your stasis shield, or your distortion field. Vicious Circle and Vantage Point, kind of 2 cards that go hand in hand here. Reduce the cooldown of Distortion Field by 3 seconds after activating your leap, and then reduce the cooldown of Commanding Leap by 1.5 seconds every 1 second while you're standing inside your Distortion Field. So you're going to be playing it and you're going to be throwing your field mainly on yourself and shooting out of your dome shield or your Distortion Field. So that's kind of what you're going to be playing. You're going to be throwing that on top of you. Even with the talent, you're going to be getting some self-healing, and you got a little bit of DR here as well. These last 3 cards, you can kind of have in any order. How many points you want in these cards, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's kind of up to you. For me, I just have these at a 2, both of these at a 2, and then at 1. You can kind of add whatever cards you want as the last 2, but the main 2 cards for this loadout are these 2, Vicious Circle and Vantage Point. If you want more Distortion Field CDR, you can put this up to a 3. Same with Entrenched. If you want this a little bit more, you can put that up to a 3, 15% DR while you're standing in Distortion Field. But yeah, apart from that, I think the only other thing I'm going to talk about is what items you should buy with her. 100% going to be buying Cauterize. That's pretty much a no-brainer on any damage champion. Cauterize. She does break shields pretty well, so if you're going against a team that has shields and you want to break some shields, Wrecker, I think, is a really solid option on her. She doesn't have the best long-range type damage, but she is able to spam really solid at like medium, close range, especially towards the shields. You have like bulky shields on the enemy team. Fernando, Khan, stuff like that, just for a few examples. Apart from that, I think actually Deft Hands is really solid on her as well, as like a last type filler type item from the item store. Resilience, obviously, if they have a lot of CC and you're going to be constantly getting stunned, having the resilience, stuff like that. Illuminate, if you're going against stuff like Sky, Shaolin, Ceres, the invisible type champions that you can be able to see. I think probably the 2 main items you're going to be wanting to stack on her, though, are Chronos and Cauterize, and maybe Wrecker, if they have a lot of shields, like I said. But main 2 items, Chronos and Cauterize. Chronos just because she has a lot of hefty ability cooldowns that are quite high. With Chronos 3, it reduces them significantly, and it helps you out a lot. So, apart from that, other filler items, you can run Life Rip, Kill the Heal, whatever. Morale Boost is still really solid on her. Helps your ult charge a lot faster, especially when you get so much value out of your ult. I think it's a really solid ult. Deft Hands, like I said. Apart from that, just your typical items, but mainly going to be running Chronos and Cauterized as for items on her. That's pretty much all I got, guys. If there's something I did not explain, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll respond to you. Or if there's something I forget to explain and I remember before I upload this video, I'll throw it in the comments or the description. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. If I had to rate Octavia as a champion right now, I'd say she's probably just your typical mid-range damage type champion. The only thing that separates her from other champions that are kind of like her, like Victor, Vivian, Tyra, stuff like that, is her passive. Apart from that, I'd say she's kind of the same as some of the other champions in the game. But if you want a really fun champion that's at least somewhat unique kit-wise, I think Octavia would be really cool, and she's really fun to play, especially once you start knowing how to play her and get really good at mastering her cooldowns and using her mobility properly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in a future one. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching.